Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me. Super excited that you're here. Thank you for lending me your ears. Hey, today I want to ask you a question. Let's say you're a manager, managing salespeople. You're a manager, and your salesperson calls you up or runs into your office and says, "Man, I just had a great meeting with company ABC. I'm super excited." Now, just stop the movie right there. How do you know? How would you gauge if that meeting was as good as the salesperson said it was? Because, salespeople, I was a salesperson, salespeople, and you're probably one right now. You'll walk in or you call your boss and say, "Oh, it was a great meeting." Well, tell me what was great about it. Well, they seemed interested and excited, and they seemed willing. They even asked for references. They want more information. I think we even have a champion inside the company who's going to really push our product. And, I have a few customer contacts in there, and they're going to give me some feedback. And so far, what I've received is great. Now, all these are what I call soft indicators that the meeting went well. What we need is almost like a universal benchmarking way of determining whether a meeting went well or not. So what I'm going to propose is a metric system for you, a way of measuring whether it was a great first meeting or not. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the BANT model. Remember, BANT, which stands for budget, authority, need, timing. And then I'm going to expand it a little bit and add the ER. So you'll be able to remember the phrase BANTER. BANTER. Now, let's assume that we're going to ask 7 questions. In other words, there's 7 things we need to know from this salesperson to determine if that was a great first meeting. The first one is budget, right? In other words, were you able to confirm in that meeting that they do have the monies available or earmarked for this project? If the answer is a solid yes, you give it a 1. If it's not a solid yes, that's a 0. You then go to step number 2. A, authority. Were the decision makers in that room during that first meeting? Were all the key decision makers in that room during that meeting? If the answer is yes, you give that a 1. If the answer is not everybody, well, then you give it a 0. Okay, then you move to the N. Is there a need? Based on what questions you ask and the products we offer, was there a clear need for our product? The answer is yes, you give it a 1. The answer is no, you give it a 0. Then you move to the T, which is timing. When are they going to have this done by? In other words, when are they going to pull the trigger on this project? Did you get a time frame? Did you get a time frame? If the answer is yes, you give that a 1. If it's no, you give that a 0. Then you move to the E, right? When you were talking to this group of people, were they excited? Big question is, were they engaged? How do you measure engagement? Were they asking a lot of questions? Was there high engagement, or were they just receiving information? Now, this is going to be a subjective judgment call on the salesperson's part. Because lots of questions, well, what is a lot of questions? 2 questions, 3 questions? You'll have to take the salesperson's guide on this. In other words, you'll have to go by what they say. And you ask the salesperson, were they engaged? Were there a lot of questions being asked? And then you may even, dive deeper into this, like what type of questions were being asked. That'll give you an idea or a hint as to the level of engagement. So if there was a lot of engagement, salesperson said there were a lot of questions, here are a few of the questions. Great questions, give it a 1. Not a lot of questions, not a lot of great questions, give that a 0. Last but not least, R, was there a request? Was there a request for a proposal? Was there a request for a demo? Was there a request for a field trial? Was there a request for a second meeting? In other words, did this company initiate some type of commitment to advancing the sale to the next step? If the answer is yes, great. If it's no, that's a 0. If it is yes, it's a 1. Now think about it. This is an interesting way. If it was a great meeting, then you should have a perfect 7, right? Or 6 rather. You should have a perfect 6. Banter. So it should be a 6 out of 6. So when your salesperson calls you up and says, we had a great meeting, then in your mind, you're going to go through the banter, Banter, right? Just go through it, banter. Did they have the budget? Were the authority? Were the decision makers in the room? Did we clearly establish that they do need the product? What's the time frame? Do we know what that is? Were they engaged? And was there a request for a proposal, demo, meeting, field trial, whatever it is to move the sale to the next level or advance the sale? This is your scorecard. Now, if you're a manager, I want you to kind of think about this and ask yourself, how would you apply it next time you're talking to one of your salespeople? Because typically when we're doing a pipeline review, we're going through the pipeline, we're seeing what deals are in the pipeline, and we usually ask the salesperson, well, where's this deal at? And says, well, we met with them last week. It was a great meeting. See, now, having the banter model in your head, you'll know exactly what to say, or at least what questions to ask. Well, let me walk through 6 things with you. First of all, when you had that meeting, was there a budget? Authority, decision makers, you get the idea. You walk through all 6. Now, you don't have to do them in order, but in your mind, having that acronym, BANTER, BANTER, will allow you to ask the key questions when you're doing a pipeline review or just a simple review. Do a conversation with your salesperson. Having this model will allow you to ask those key questions, and also having that number clarified in your head that it was a 6 out of 6 or maybe it wasn't will allow you to look at what's in the pipeline and really assess what deals are real and what deals are not real. And if you're a manager, you know what I'm talking about. And that is it for this Sales Influence podcast. Don't forget to give me some feedback on this model. Let me know what you think. And if you have a better way of scoring, I'd love to hear from you. Again, check it out. Give me some feedback. I want to hear from you. Also, check out my Sales Velocity Academy. You know the deal. SalesVelocityAcademy.com. More courses to help you sell more faster. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care. Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.